So the Road to UFC tournament for 2024 is going to be taking place this weekend, and this is a prediction video for episode 4 out of the 4 episodes that will be covering the first round of the tournament. If you guys haven't already, I have done prediction videos for episodes 1, 2, and 3. And of course, this is going to be episode 4. Pretty much what it is like Dana White's Contender Series, except that it is a tournament where 8 people from a weight class will fight against each other over the course of a few months. So it starts out with 8 people, and then the winners obviously go down to 4 people, and then 2 people in the finals. And the winner of the entire tournament does end up getting a pretty decent UFC contract. And sometimes losers in the tournament have been signed in the past as well, depending on how good they are and how good they were in the tournament as well. Overall, what the point of the tournament really is to do is to give fighters from Asia international experience where they might not be able to do that in their current regional scene, and also to help the UFC sign more fighters and prospects from Asia, as that is a area of the world which they are trying to have more fighters from. And with that being said, let's start with the prediction. This first one is a tournament fight between Yunfeng and Balgyn Jenisuly, where I actually can't remember who the original fight was for Balgyn Jenisuly is, but Yunfeng has actually taken this fight on short notice and is a replacement for someone. I honestly don't know who the replacement is, though, who the original fighter was, though, I should say. But to be honest with you, I think that Balgyn Jenisuly is actually quite a good fighter, and I think he is going to get past Yunfeng. I mean, I did look into Yunfeng. If you guys did want to know how to do tape study, the easiest way to do it is to go to the fighter's profile and then search in their name here in their language, like Mandarin or Japanese or traditional Chinese or whatever the language is that's not English. Search that up and you will find the fights. It can be a little bit of a roll of the dice on which fights you do find, but that's how you do it. Balgyn Jenisuly, he was on the tournament last year, put up a good fight against Shuai Kamikubo, who I thought was going to win the whole thing, and ended up being a little bit fraudulent. I guess it would be fair to say that Kamikubo, a very good fighter. Balgyn Jenisuly showed really good takedown defense and the ability to just kind of push a very difficult fight. And then after that, he went out there and beat Xavier Aloui, and Xavier Aloui is actually now signed to the PFL. So it's a pretty well-18 win. And then he just beat a guy with a losing record recently, I guess, to kind of keep some momentum going. I think he beats Yunfeng. Jenisuly's a good wrestler, and he's a good striker. I think this time in the tournament, he will get out of the first round. I think he just got a very unlucky draw against Shuai Kamikubo last year in his first round fight. So I think he is going to beat Yunfeng. Lee is a grappler. I guess the path of least resistance would just be to strike with him, but maybe Balgyn Jenisuly likes his wrestling in this one. Now, every episode, they are going to have a bonus fight, which actually isn't a part of the tournament, and actually acts as more of a Contender Series fight, as like a bonus fight outside of the tournament. And this is the one for the episode here. It's women's flyweight between the Australian Lisa Kyriacou and Qihui. I have seen her name actually pronounced in much better ways than that, to be honest with you. I actually think Michael Bisping pronounced her as Qihui on the broadcast when she was on the Contender Series, and actually put up, in my opinion, a really good fight against Karine Silva 2.5 years ago. And that is a loss that has aged very well, because Karine Silva is now in the top 15, and in that matchup, we were able to see Qihui go out there, take down Karine Silva quite a few times, and control in top position, and even have success on the feet. I feel like this is going to be a grappler versus grappler matchup where both of these two are wrestlers for the most part. It is worth noting that Lisa Kyriacou, in her experience as an MMA fighter, has actually spent a lot of time fighting against very good strikers. So maybe that is just why I am seeing so much wrestling and grappling out of her. But what Lisa Kyriacou likes to do is she is actually quite big for the weight class. She's definitely going to be a lot taller than Qihui. She likes to wrestle. She likes to control and top control. And Qihui does the same thing. One thing I noticed about Lisa Kyriacou is I think she's got really good technique, but I think she can be a little bit stiff on the feet and also quite low volume. Where Qihui, I think, is the opposite. She's got not the best technique whatsoever, but she is so aggressive. She comes forward. She's a bit of a brawler. She's fun to watch, and she does like to get takedowns and, as I said, dominate and top control and land ground and pound for there. For most of her career, to be fair, she has been fighting not very good competition and just dominating pretty poor competition, I will be fully honest with you, but as I did say, when she did take on Karine Silva in a fight that has aged quite well, she was able to take down Karine Silva in the first round. She was also able to dominate and top control for moments in that matchup in that one, but it did kind of look like she gassed out a little bit going into round number 2, which can be a little bit of a red flag. She did beat Miao Ding, which was cool. That's probably her best win, maybe in her entire career. And in that fight, although I was only able to watch a little bit of a highlight video, she did the same thing. She took down Miao Ding without really too much issue whatsoever, and got the submission after some ground and pound. I do think Lisa Kyriacou is actually a really good fighter, and it is a shame that they were going to get a prospect cancelled out of each other, if that makes any sense. But I do like Qihui to win the matchup. She's just really good, and that fight against Karine Silva, the more I watch it, the more I actually am quite impressed with how she's looked, because if you do consider Karine Silva, she's gone on a massive run now into the top 15, and she's looking like a very good prospect, and I feel like Qihui maybe could do the same thing. I don't know what she did for that year that she didn't fight, a year and a half after she didn't fight after Karine Silva. I'm kind of hoping that she just spent time at the UFC Performance Institute in Shanghai, but I don't really know. But I do think Qihui should be able to get this one done because she does have very good wrestling. This next fight's very difficult to predict. Ruel Panales is going to be taking on Toki Matsui. From what I saw from Toki Matsui, isn't actually a lot. I didn't get to watch a lot of tape, unfortunately, for these Pancrase fights. I don't know why, but I think I might be geo-blocked from watching them in New Zealand. I don't know. I genuinely can't find tape on these Pancrase fighters, but what I can do is watch highlight videos of Pancrase, which doesn't really tell you much. So all of the tape that I watched of Toki Matsui was from his days fighting for Grachan, which you can find on YouTube. It's hard to find. Once again, search up his name, his Japanese name, and Grachan, and you should be able to get to watch some of his fights. But his time in Grachan, he was a wrestler. But his time in Pancrase, from what I've seen, he's a striker. So I don't really know what we're going to see out of Matsui, to be honest with you. I'm kind of hoping he's going to wrestle, because Ruel Panales, from what I see, is a very good striker that cannot defend a takedown. That's kind of the breakdown for Panales. He throws a lot of kicks. He's obviously got some sort of striking background, because he's actually a very good striker for the weight class. But he has been taken down easily. I mean, against Magomed Gadzimuradov, he won by doctor stoppage, but I think the cut was caused by a head clash, which is awkward. And he grabs the fence a lot when he tries to defend takedowns, and it's not going to slide with a referee hired by the UFC, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, just kind of very interested about Ruel Panales. As I said, I think he actually is a very, very good striker. But I don't know, because Toki Matsui, I feel like if Toki Matsui has a good team behind him that are going to be looking into Ruel Panales, they're going to see that Panales doesn't know how to defend a takedown. And I'm going to kind of hope that's just what's going to happen. In a pure striking matchup, I think Matsui is the bigger fighter. I think he does have more power, but I don't think he's the better technical striker. But I think that Matsui can mix in wrestling and striking, which is why I'm going to pick him to win this fight by decision. I don't feel that good about it, but I do think Matsui is going to be able to get it done in that matchup. Kyu-Sung Kim is going to be taking on Tokitaka Nakanishi, and man, that is such a fun name to say. I am going to be picking Tokitaka Nakanishi to win the fight as well, by the way. Once again, I think a lot of his fights were in Pancrase, and unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to watch that many of his fights, but what I did see out of him is he's got a good wrestling background, and he wrestles a lot. And that's what he's going to need to do against Kyu-Sung Kim, because Kyu-Sung Kim is actually a Formula 1 championship fighter, but he's a striker. And I noticed he's got very small legs. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but he's got very, very thin legs. So he's 6 foot, he's 6 foot tall. That makes sense. Okay, that's why he's got such thin legs. He's 6 foot tall for 135 pounds. Apparently he's fought at 125 before as well. How did that not register when I was watching his fights? What I noticed about Kyu-Sung Kim is he's a striker, but he just kind of like sits in the pocket and like is kind of slow. It's kind of weird to watch his fights. If you watch his fights, you'll know what I mean. There is one uploaded by One Championship, which unfortunately he's on the receiving end of a highlight from his opponent, but he kind of throws his strikes and then just kind of gets caught lacking. Like, he doesn't really exit the pocket. He doesn't seem to have good footwork. Like, he doesn't really move very well either. He seems to be quite slow on the feet, but with that being said, he probably will be the better striker out of the two here. But as I said, Tokitaka Nakanishi, he's a wrestler and a grappler, and I think he's going to be a much better wrestler than Kyu-Sung Kim is. So I think that we're going to see Tokitaka Nakanishi go out there and use that wrestling and control Kyu-Sung Kim and probably find a submission in the fight. So give me Tokitaka Nakanishi by submission and that one there. And now we move on to the main event. And to be fully honest with you guys, I actually kind of went into this actually expecting to pick Kiru Sahota, but I'm going to be picking Shuai. Now, Shuai coming off a loss. He did lose to this guy, Shumahir Adiabieki. And if you have the tape for this fight, please comment it below, because I couldn't find it. I could find everything else. I watched this fight against Buhuyuga. I watched this fight against Yiping Yu. And I watched this fight against Ping Li. But I couldn't find this one. I just couldn't find it, unfortunately. And but what I was very impressed from what I saw, and I even saw, obviously, he was doing some interviews that I couldn't understand, but he seems like a guy with a personality where I feel like if he was in the UFC, he would make call-outs, or he would make people quite like him. Like, he's got a very likable personality for a fighter. But not only that, he's a good striker and a wrestler. I would almost say he's mostly a wrestler, would kind of be fair to say how he fights, but he fights with very good kickboxing. He throws a lot of kicks, strikes quite well from range, and Kiru Sahota is actually the same. Kiru Sahota is a very good striker and a very good wrestler in his own right, and he's got very good cardio. I should also say that about that as well. I think Kiru Sahota probably has the better cardio here. He's got very good cardio, but I'm kind of watching Shuai, and I was just really, really impressed. Like, I was really impressed by his top control, his ability to control opponents when he gets on top. I was impressed by his striking. I was just kind of thinking to myself, man, like, this guy's really good. But unfortunately, I couldn't find the loss, because if I saw the loss and saw how he lost, that would actually really probably help me find how Kiru Sahota could potentially beat him, because I watched Kiru Sahota's fights. He's a decent striker, but I don't think he's as technical as Shuai is. And he's a good wrestler, and I feel like that's how he's going to have to beat Shuai. But the thing is, with Shuai, I know he hasn't really fought the same level of competition for sure, but he has got reversals before. He has out-wrestled good fighters before. Like, as I said, I mean, he absolutely slept this guy Ping Li, and these guys had beef as well, which is hilarious, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I do like Shuai though. I'm going to pick Shuai to win the matchup, but Kiru Sahota is going to be a good fighter. He's fought good fighters in his career. Lost to Shawn Michaels da Silva, who's a good fighter. Okay, ignore that one. Ignore that one as well. He beat Giacomo Santoro, which you can find on UFC Fight Pass over in Italy, in Santoro's home kind of country as well. And that was a fun fight. That was a banger, man. That was really where I was quite impressed by his cardio and his wrestling, but I feel like Shuai just slightly technical as a striker, very patient, very good wrestler, very dominant on top control as well. I think he should be able to take down Kiru Sahota. I didn't really get to see Kiru Sahota have to defend a takedown from the tape study that I did watch, but yeah, I'm going to go with Shuai. I really thought I was going to pick Kiru just because he has had good experience against Shawn Michaels da Silva, who's a good fighter, and Giacomo Santoro, who are probably better opponents than Shuai has probably ever fought, to be honest with you. But yeah, I know he's beaten Nego Dan, but yeah, no, no, he's also got a pretty padded record. It's kind of hard to tell how good these guys from China really are, as they do just kind of fight in tournaments against each other. But yeah, I'm gonna go with him to win. I think he is gonna get able to go out there and beat Sahota. So yeah, give me Shuai by decision there. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Round 1 is always, like, impossible to predict in Road to UFC, I'll be honest, because it's hard to kind of tell, because a lot of these guys aren't fighting the best levels of competition. Tape's pretty hard to find as well. Like, some of them you got to pay for, especially if they've fought for Ryzen before. The way to watch Ryzen tape is to buy a Ryzen pass, which, sorry guys, I'm just not going to do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to kind of see, but let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.